Hello, everyone. I see some of you have your cameras on. Really excited to have you all here joining us on Election Day. I'm Lyn Marquis. I am going to be the host and facilitator of Meet the Professionals. And I do want to say hello to Izzy and Sophia from Clinton, Mass. They emailed me and they said they couldn't make it because they had to make it to handling class for training. So they're going to be listening in later. So so happy to have them joining us again. And we do have many kids coming back for a second time, and I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping that means you really like the first one with Toonie. And then we have some new kids with us that I am really excited for you to hear Katie's story. She's an amazing person. Before I get to Katie, I also wanted to send out a special shout out to Elliot in Houston, Pennsylvania. Elliot messaged me today to let me know that he couldn't attend the webinar because he was going to be working the polls until 8:30 this evening. Elliot, wow. I think this is great that you are volunteering your time.
Yes.
Love to see that.
Great civic duty. Nice.
Since today is Election Day, I do want to mention the importance of being active, volunteering, and being of service in your local community, your local kennel club and or national dog club. All of you kids matter. I want you to all know that you all have a voice, and I want to always encourage you to use it. If you ever experience something that doesn't seem fair, please reach out to me or another responsible adult. Do your best to always do the right thing and always trust your instincts. So on Election Day, I think today is the perfect day to say to you, to be the change that you wish to be. If you see something that isn't working, do what you can to change it. Instead of becoming another person at dog shows that complains and simply becoming a part of the problem, become part of the solution. If you have any ideas or concerns, please share them with me or another responsible adult, or maybe even Katie too. Dog shows, like life, they can be challenging, and we are here. There are people here that want to help you navigate those changes safely. So welcome. So now that we have that discussed, I'm really excited to introduce you to Katie Bernardin. She is one of my most favorite people to see at the dog shows. She is so sweet, so positive, and so determined. So I love this combination of sweet intensity. So don't let that sweet face fool you. This girl is tough as nails. Katie won Best Junior Handler at Westminster in 2004. And she also is the handler of Ty, a giant schnauzer. And he was the #1 dog, all breeds, all systems in 2017. And Katie is the one that made that possible. So amazing, amazing job, Katie. That to be #1 all breeds in the entire country and at such a young age is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot, so thank you.
So Katie, can you tell us about you as a young girl? How did you get started?
So my mom and dad worked full-time jobs. So after school, my grandma and grandpa would always pick me up. My grandma was a breeder of miniature schnauzers and dachshunds, and she was very heavily involved in obedience. So she would always be training dogs, go to handling classes, grooming dogs, whatnot. But I showed my first dog when I was 7, but I'd been going to dog shows since I was in a stroller on my grandma's back. But we traveled a lot together, and I learned a lot from my grandma. And then when I turned 10, I wanted to do juniors, and I couldn't do a miniature schnauzer because they were too much work. I was too short. I couldn't get them on the table. It was just too much. So my grandma got me a miniature dachshund, and that was Elmo. And actually that was Taz. But my mom and dad never truly understood dog shows, but they let me do it because it's what I wanted to do. And one requisite was that I had to have straight A's. I had to be on the honor roll. I had to, I was only allowed to miss 10 days of school before you were, deducted a grade. But so many of my teachers were also so supportive from grade school to high school. I mean, my senior year, I worked super hard in school just so I could try to get my final wins for the garden because I had to have 10 and my birthday was in February. So my senior year, all my teachers completely understood. They were great. I mean, I turned in homework early. I did extra credit. As long as I could stay in the honor roll, I could do all the things I wanted to do. And during high school, I played soccer. During grade school, I played soccer, volleyball, basketball. I did all those things. But in my junior year, I decided that I wanted to show dogs. That's what I wanted to do. So I ended up dropping all my sports and just focusing on dog shows in school because it just got to be too much. I wanted to do everything to make my mom and dad happy, to make my grandma happy, and to make myself happy. So we all agreed, dog shows in school. That was what I wanted to do. And my grandma was just super dedicated. She drove me everywhere. She gave up so much to take me to dog shows and to let me go work for people. We were always the last people to leave a dog show because I always wanted to be there till the final end. I wanted to be there till best in show. And, we lived in Missouri, so nothing was close. It was 8 hours, 10 hours. And she always let me stay till the end and watch best in show or help the people I work for pack up or, that's what I think is the most important thing that kids need to understand is that it's not just about going to the dog show and showing your dog. It's about being involved. It's about asking questions. It's about helping handlers, even if you're holding a dog, because if you're holding a dog, you can still ask questions. And that's always, I worked for one couple as I grew up, but I was always helping other people. And I was always fascinated by sporting dogs, always. But the people I worked for mainly had hounds and a little bit of working dogs, but mainly hounds, lots of sight hounds and lots of dachshunds. So
I have a question because what I'm hearing you say is similar to some of what I've heard with some of the kids that are also playing sports. So they have other activities. Do you feel that having played sports and some of the other activities also benefited you? And did you find you ever had any challenges where you had to choose between, say, playing a sport and going to a dog show?
I was very shy growing up. I think a lot of it was because I grew up in an adult world of dog shows. So as a child, I would sit at a dinner table with adults and I was always very quiet and, I ate my food. And so being in sports really helped me kind of come out of my shell and kind of find, like my own path. Dog shows did too, but when you're playing sports and someone passes you a ball, you have that moment of, are you going to drop it or are you going to just go for it? And that's sports kind of brought me out. And, the reason I dropped in my junior year is just, it was too much. I was letting my teammates down because I would want to go to a dog show on a weekend and not our tournament. So it did come to a point where I had to make the decision. Do I want to try to do both or just focus on one? And I always knew I wanted to show dogs. So unfortunately I had to give up sports. It was a very hard decision, but
I love hearing that you were shy, and I actually know that you still are shy. So
yeah,
I
these things
want
are
to
very
say
hard.
a big thank you because as accomplished as you are, I know that even being in the center of attention, having an interview, even showing up for the kids was very courageous of you. And you probably felt a little uncomfortable, but you thought, I'm going to be here for the kids. So I thank you for that. And I also want to make note of that because there are other kids that are shy. And I also want to encourage them that you can be extremely shy and yet look at all you've accomplished. And you were on the floor of Westminster. Like, how does a shy kid do that?
but extremely powerful. So you kind of have to dig down deep, and it's so different though when like you're at Madison Square Garden and the lights are on and you're on the carpet and you have that moment, but you don't see anything else. You just see that moment of with you and your dog. There's nothing else. And that's how I am in the ring too. You know, you walk in, it's not about the people watching you, it's not about the crowds. That moment when you walk through that gate is about you and your dog. Nothing else matters. You are there to get the best performance out of your dog, and it is your job to get that best performance. And you know, it's weird, like I don't even hear clapping anymore. I don't hear anything. And even Adam, you know, we've talked about it. It goes silent. Everything in your brain kind of shuts down and you go into your job mode. So that thankfully has helped me get through some very difficult situations.
And I love hearing about this, how you enter this zone. Is there something that you do? Are you even aware of it? And I'm going to ask the question. I know myself personally, I start shutting down to the point that I will just say to other people, look, I can't have a conversation right now. I really need to focus on this. And I will just start tuning out. It's almost like you said, you don't hear the clapping, you don't hear, you're just not aware of anything but that moment, and everything else ceases. Is there a process that you have to do?
I always take a big couple deep breaths, you know, and just kind of almost talk to myself. I talk to the dogs a lot, and just, you know, there's only a couple people like in that moment that I want to talk to. I want to talk to like 3 people that are in my little square that can help me focus. And those people, like my husband, they bring out the best in me and they make me focus. And, you know, but they also know not to talk. They're just like, okay, go do your job, you know, do your job. That's always what, like, even Toonie used to say it to me all the time, the big patriot saying, do your job. And that's what I would just think before. Take a deep breath, let it all out, let all the negative energy out, and you walk through there. And it just happens. I mean, I guess I've done it so long now that it's just part of my process.
And one of the things that I loved hearing about when I interviewed you for the book, Katie, you know, behind the scenes of Best in Show, is you have such an amazing support system. And when you and Ty were flying all over the country, you actually, you know, Adam sent you off with your person.
Yep.
And
who was 7 months pregnant.
So one of the things I like about this is you knowing that, say this makes me a little nervous, I'm going to be flying across the country, and I want my person that helps me feel stronger and that knows what I need. And you asking for what you needed, and then you having the right people in your life that also understand you and that know that simply by standing by you and being quiet is extremely helpful to you.
Oh, 100%. I couldn't have done anything that I did without the people in my life. Without those core people, it just wouldn't have happened. I would have been a wreck. I would have been a wreck without those people, without Kelly, without Adam, without Jen, without Sandy. I would have just, because it's a lot. Even just going to a dog show and showing, you know, a dog, it's always a lot. It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure, and you know, and then to take it to the next level where Ty was, so many things were happening, and you know, we stuff at home and dogs, and you know, just trying to do my job with him. And Kelly was always there to be like, no, don't worry about that stuff. Your job right now is him. That is your job, to make sure he is mentally happy, physically happy. He is ready to do his job every day, because it's very hard to be a top dog and go to dog shows for days a week, 5 days.
And I think it's again a good point that you make in when you show up knowing what you need to be focused, knowing that if you were the type of person that maybe you need to get someplace 2 hours ahead of time, what do you need? And then to have a bit of a plan as the people that you want to be surrounded by. And I'm also wondering, do you find that there are certain people that sometimes you need to stay away from?
Oh, 100%. There's just some people that just, get under your skin or just put off a vibe that is not helpful to you. And I feel like just staying away from those people is just in life. You don't need people that are going to have negative energies. You need to focus on positive and happy thoughts, and that goes for everything that you do in life. You don't need the people that bring you down. You need the people that bring you up. And I feel like as an individual, and even the young people, you need to learn that now. If people make you feel bad about yourself, they don't need to be there. You need to find people that make you stronger, make you happy, make you smile, and just happy to be around. It took me a long time to learn that, but yes.
Yeah, so I actually I don't know if you can remember this, but do you remember 2004 when you were a junior? Do you remember that day at all? What was going through your head? Do you have any recollection?
I did not end up being able to qualify for the garden in 2005. I was like 2 wins short. So it was also just a lot of disappointment going in there that, that was my last time. That was my last chance. The year before, I'd made the finals and I was very excited. It was great. But going into it in 2004, it was a little stressful. I just so badly wanted to win for my grandma, who had drugged me around the country to do what I wanted to do. And it would just have been a perfect little ending and satisfaction for her, for me to win. And, and I remember I made it to finals with a really good friend of mine, and I was in there with friends. But again, you find that focus. And I remember when I made finals, like my little dog was so tired and he had a show that night. And I just picked him up after we made finals. I took him back to the benching area. I had a couple tears because I was so excited. But it was just a huge relief to make finals again after making it last year and the year before not placing. So when I won, it was like a dream come true for not only me, but for my grandma as well. She had put a lot into it and a lot into me. And it was just, I'll never forget her coming down the stands crying with the lady that bred my dog too. They just came running down the stairs crying because they were just so excited. I'll never forget that. But
so now this may be an interesting question. Do you still face similar challenges as a professional handler as you faced as a junior? Do you find any similarities?
In juniors, it was all about your performance as a handler, not just the structure of the dog. But what juniors taught me was to be quiet, have quiet hands. I wasn't one to run around the ring and smile. And, my grandma always used to yell at me and my friends, because just like handlers do, we'd get in juniors and we'd all go to a corner and sit there together and talk and, hang out. That was our time. All of us worked for people at that time. So that was our time to sit and hang out and be friends. But it really taught sportsmanship. I'm still very close to a lot of kids that I went to juniors with. Even some of them who don't show dogs, I still talk to. So it just really taught me to be quiet, taught me just to go show my dog. I was very lucky to show very young dogs. So I got to learn how to show different dogs. And I worked for different handlers. So I got to show different breeds too, which I thought was great. Not everyone has that ability to show different breeds, but I probably showed 10 different breeds in juniors, and which gave me the ability to learn how to show dogs differently. I loved sight hounds. I feel like that I learned so much from showing sight hounds, and that carried on to today. The people I worked for taught me how to show a sight hound, which is very soft and quiet.
Can you, one of my favorite stories that you told me about was when you were at Westminster and you had to show all these different breeds. And you being an all breed handler, you really are able to show different personalities, and whether it's a golden or whether it's a giant, or you need to show up differently for different dogs. And there was just the, can you like take me through that scenario that you were telling me about how, Katie has this amazing ability where she can be strong and then she can be soft and then she can be whatever her dog needs her to be. And she can just like this.
In and out.
So
I
yeah,
think
can
I'm
you
talking
just
about
take the
giants
kids
and Labradors.
when you had giants and labs, and well, I think there may have even been a beardy in there. So,
Oh, maybe, yeah.
even if you could just tell the story of a day and all the different personality changes you have to go through, and how you just, again, you have this way of tuning out everything else going on and just showing up and connecting with each dog in a very intimate way. Can you explain a day where you're at a dog
Yeah.
show and you have to jump from one breed to
So
another
I'll
breed,
just
and how it might
say
go?
like a normal day at a dog show.
Yes.
Like this past weekend, we just had so many dogs, but so I have to go from showing the giant Schnauzer, which is extreme focus. It's very crafted. You have to make sure he moves a certain way, make sure his attention is there. You have to be just very intense, very focused with that breed. And I have to get him super jazzed up to go around the ring and all that stuff. And then I need to pop over to Labradors where I can't get her too excited because then she just destroys herself. So everything is slowed down. Before you take her, you need to take a big deep breath and just calm yourself. And then you have to show her nice and easy. You don't set her up. She sets herself up, which is great. And then I have to go show the little Griffons, which you don't really want to touch them, but you have to kind of be sweet but not too sweet, because then they melt into little puddles and they just want you to hold them. And then you have to run back over to golden retrievers, where most golden retrievers, you have to be very energetic. Just make sure they have their tails up, make sure their ears are up, make sure, I always say you have to be a little bit of a cheerleader to show a golden retriever, because you need to make sure they're peppy and that they're excited to be there. And then you go to the bearded collie, who you have to literally slow. Like even when I show the beardy, I can hear every sound because I know that he's going to hear every sound. I can hear someone ripping tape up 4 rings away and be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for him in case he has a moment, because it's a bearded collie. He is a herding dog. He has moments. Someone drops the trash can. I need to be ready for it. And that dog, everything is very slow and you can't be rushed with him, or he just shuts down. He just doesn't understand why there's so much pressure on him or why you're making him do it like this. It literally has to slow down and you have to kind of coddle him through it. But then you have to go show the foxhound, which you really have to, almost like a working dog, you have to make him focus, but not too much, or he's just going to claw at you and eat your hand. So, but the foxhound is also very difficult just to get him to focus and to do what he wants and what you want him to do, because he is his own little creature and does whatever he wants to do most of the time. So just bouncing back and forth, you have to know what you have on the end of your lead. Even when you show dogs for like a friend, like if I take a friend's dog in, you need to know enough about the breed to understand, okay, I can't manhandle this dog. I need to make it think it's their idea. And that's what we always say about like Irish setters. You cannot manhandle an Irish setter into doing anything. It has to be their idea. The minute you make them do it, they fight you. They don't want to hold their stacks. They drop their tails. They get a little upset. You always think it's their idea. So you stop. Sometimes if they're not doing what we want them to do, we stop, we do a circle and we set them up again. And then we start all over. But every dog is different.
And every dog is different. And Katie has this amazing ability to connect and actually merge with a dog. So when she was talking about even with the bearded collie, I've had this experience with my dogs too. So you have a dog that is very sensory, and that means the dog is very sensitive to, it may be sound sensitive, it may be sensitive to movement, it might be sensitive to squeaky wheels on the dolly, it might be very specific. And when you merge with these dogs, you end up becoming that dog, in which you become super sensitive to squeaky wheels, and because you need to be anticipating everything that dog might experience. And it's really an amazing thing. I think for all of us handlers, it's one of those moments that we're always going for, is when you just completely connect into an animal where you end and it begins. You're all the same.
Yeah. And every breed is like that, you know, whether it's a little Chihuahua or a Great Dane, every breed you can connect to and figure them out. And, you know, dogs are incredible.
Yeah. And so if I was at a show and Katie had a conflict and I came over to help Katie with her Brittany, and before she goes running off, I might say, Katie, what does this dog need? And I would need Katie to like, just boom.
Yep.
It's a very hyper dog, you know, just go easy, don't react, and I would trust that Katie knows her dog. And then I would just have to show up however Katie told me to be what that dog needs me to be. So if you're a really effective handler, you're probably going to find yourself exhausted at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because you're being
So
what the dog needs you to
exhausted.
be, you're being what maybe your parents, your friends, your clients, all these people that you're interacting with, but especially the dogs. If you go all in to connect in with a dog, it's amazing, but it's also can be exhausting because it's intense focus merging with a dog like that and really being one with the dog.
Very. You know, even when I showed Ty, I was the only dog I would go to a dog show with. At the end of the day, I was exhausted. You know, but I would show him 3 times a day and, you know, making sure that I got the performance I needed out of him every single time. It was exhausting. We were both exhausted at the end of the day. We just would want to go to a dark hotel room and Netflix and chill for the rest of the night. But
and I love that story when you talked about, you know, you showing Ty, and it was funny to me at first because you were saying that Ty needed what was the show that you guys watched?
We watched The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, yes. So Katie told me that that Ty liked The Walking Dead, but it seems that it really was something that helped Katie chill. She'd pull the blind, she'd have a dark room, because it's really stressful for the handler and the dog. You know, the dogs feel the pressure to win. And so oftentimes dog shows are very exhausting. And again, Katie recognizing that both she and her dog need to just tune out. And so Katie, also being somewhat of an introvert, you know, recognizes that she needs her alone time and her downtime, and she makes sure that she gets that so that she can show up for her dogs and give them everything she has. And that's something she needs to do for herself and her dogs. So I have a question. Do you ever get angry or frustrated about losing?
Of course. We all get angry when we lose.
Excellent.
No one wants to lose.
So, you know, and I think that's it's natural for all of us. What do you do when you've experienced, you know, a big loss, frustration by a competitor? Do you and Adam have maybe a code or something that you do when you're really angry or frustrated?
We learned a long time ago, never cry at a dog show. Never let go. If you're going to, you need to go to the truck and do it. You need to go behind a closed door. You need to go to the trailer. Like, and sometimes you can just see the looks on our faces. Like, we know each other well enough. And like the kids that work for us, like if they see us and we are heading towards the door, just let us go. Just give us 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Let us take a couple deep breaths and just let us go. But you know, it takes a lot to get us there, like a lot. You know, I think it's maybe happened 10 times to me in the last 10 years, just where I've needed to like leave a building. Just, and it's not that nobody did anything wrong. I'm just more disappointed than anything. And when I'm disappointed or upset, I cry. So it just happens. Like I cry. So the best thing for me to do is just go outside so no one can see me cry. You know, even like 2 weeks ago, I was just so upset about something. And I just walked out the door with my dog and had to go into the truck and just have a minute. I just sat there and cried for just a minute. I got myself together and I was like, it's a dog show. I still have dogs to show. I need to pull myself together and I need to go show my other dogs. And I did, but.
Yeah. And I know when I was a young kid, we had a code, and that was the same thing. My mother would say, and we would go away from the ring. And I think it's important to understand who you are. I can get really hot. I'm a Doberman person, and we get aggressive. And boy, I mean, it becomes absolute war.
Yeah.
And that's what our clients expect of us. That's actually what's required. If you don't come into the Doberman ring, if you come into the Doberman ring like you do the Golden Retriever ring, you're done. So
I get intimidated going to the Doberman ring.
Oh, good.
Seriously.
I have to do that more.
Yes. I'm like, oh no, thanks. I don't want to help today.
But and for me, what I would also explain to my clients is, you know, I get really hot and really intense when I'm showing. And when I don't win, sometimes more than others, it can be very upsetting. And I'll just say to my clients, just like, I need 5 minutes because there's a lot of energy coursing through and I don't want it to come out the wrong way. So I know me, and I will sometimes say, look, I can't talk right now. And so if you're like me, and you do get yourself all fired up, that's fine. You know, it's all I want to tell you is when you have that energy, know how to channel it. You can take all of that and you can channel it into creating intensity in your dog, excitement, drama, or if you're not paying attention, you can get messy and you can maybe snap at your mom or your friends or a competitor. Or so just when you're feeling that way, just take it away from the ring.
Yep. That's what Grandma always said. No crying at dog shows. Take it outside.
Yes.
Many times.
And so, you know, I just want everyone, all the kids to know that, you know, feeling nervous, feeling intense, feeling angry, you know, all of these emotions are normal. And one of the big talents of amazing handlers are they know how to not only channel their own nervousness, anger, frustration, they also know how to channel their dog's energy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if I have a dog that's flat, I might have to figure out how to get myself all pumped up to help give that dog energy.
I always find it so hard on, like we just did 10 dog shows in Doswell. By day 9, like we are drained, but you still have to do your job. You still have to dig deep and find that energy to show all the dogs, because then you're not doing them justice if you don't. And by day 10, we were struggling, but you still dig down deep and you find it somehow, that little bit of reserve you have of energy or intenseness, or you know, the cheerleader in you. And it's hard. It is very hard. And at the end of the day, when all you want to do is lay down and go to bed, you know, then you have to drive home. But it's exhausting. You know, it's not just physically exhausting, it is very mentally exhausting to do what we do every weekend, or just, you know, whenever you go to a dog show, it's exhausting. That's the hard part.
It's exhausting, and one of the things that I do want to say about dog showing, you know, some of these kids, they're new and they're just starting out, and learning how to manage your emotions and how to handle those feelings. It will not only serve you in dog shows, it will serve you in life,
Oh, 100%.
because dog shows are full of challenges, and so is life.
Hmm. Very
Um,
much.
so you had mentioned, actually, Toonie had mentioned Ty in our last Meet the Professionals, and she was talking about how he would get bored and how you had to come up with some tricks for him.
Yes.
Were there certain things that because some of the kids have said their dogs get bored.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you did
So
with Ty?
Adam told me in the beginning, like, he's gonna get bored, like, you need to start teaching him some stuff. Ty could shake. He did both shakes. He would touch. So like we'd spend a lot of the group ring just touch, 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 shake, shake. Or I'd put a piece of bait like on like a ring gate or something and just be like, watch, and make him watch it for like a good couple minutes. And then I would just knock it down and let him have it. But they get so bored and they're just standing. Like even at the group of the garden, that was the worst because he just had to stand there in the lights, and that's a lot of standing around. You know, we teach other dogs to spin, or, you know, down, up, downs. Like the Glenaville Malls love to sit up on their little butts and beg. Yeah, Ty only really had two, because that was the only two that would mess up his legs. But he loved to touch and shake and still does it. Or he would just do them all at once and then lay down, which was fine too.
Now, I have another question. Do you have a certain amount of time that you would recommend working or training a dog? Is there like a sweet spot? If you were, if you got a new dog and you were training them, their handling classes are an hour. If you get a new dog and you're training it, how long do you train a dog?
I mean, like working them out in the yard is different than going to a handling class. Going to a handling class is different from going to a dog show. All very different. Some dogs never stop learning. You don't stop training. As a handler, your job is to always train the dogs. You know, like for say, Adam has a new Irish setter bitch that he's showing. He changed her lead 4 times this week, just trying different things because he didn't like it, how it felt. She knows what she's doing. She's the #1 Irish setter in the country right now. She knows what she's doing, but it just wasn't just right. So he would show her on one leash in the breed, show her on another leash in the group, and not like it, switch it halfway through. In my mind, you never stop training. And some dogs walk into the kennel and they walk into their first dog show and they've never been anywhere and they know exactly what to do. Some dogs, it takes 2 weekends. Some dogs, it takes 2 days. It just honestly depends on the breed, the dog, how they respond to you. Are they willing to please quickly? Then we have like Irish setter puppies that still don't know how to walk on leashes, but they're really cute. Just I feel like every dog is so different. I don't really know if there's a correct answer, because I could tell you, you have to go spend 15 hours training your dog. Well, that 15 hours might make that dog tired, over the course of time. I feel like you can't overtrain your dogs too, where they get bored and then they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think every time you walk into the ring, you're training. Every time you are waiting outside a ring, you're training. I feel like you should never stop training whatever you're showing.
Well, you're always on.
Yeah.
Like
I can go out and run my dogs in the yard on a leash, and that's they might walk perfect in the front yard, but then you take them to a dog show and they act like they've never been on a leash before, which has happened many times with our COVID dogs.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, these juniors actually, because it's COVID, do have certain challenges, not being able to having limited access to dog shows. Do you have any advice or thoughts on what they could be learning or practicing when they can't get to dog shows?
I mean, first of all, doing the webinars, I think is super important. Even watching grooming videos. I know during COVID, so many people were doing grooming videos of certain breeds. Even just watching multiples of them is so educational, because you learn something from all of them. And what we found during COVID was it was a time to just really get to know our dogs and just spend time with our dogs. They were able to just be dogs, not just show dogs. And that was, it's, as a junior handler, I loved taking my dog, getting away from the craziness, and just showing my dog, spending that time with my dog, not someone else's dog that the person I was working for was showing. It was my dog, and that was our moment together where I didn't have to worry about anything else, just him and I. So yeah, practice with them, but don't overdo it. Just they want to be excited when you walk into the ring. Work 10 minutes a day, down and backs, free baiting, stacking, the 1, 2, 3, 4, just don't overdo it. Enjoy your dog. That's what we did during COVID. We just enjoyed our dogs. Yeah, we practiced a little bit, and we still got baths 3 times a week, but we just truly enjoyed them.
So I know you and Adam have had many different kids come along and mentor under you. When do you usually take on a junior? What do you usually require? Is there what do you look for?
We look for kids that are willing to learn. Some kids, not necessarily the ones that work for us, they just want to show dogs. They don't want to do the grunt work. And that's where we all started. That's where me and Adam started, grunt work, scooping poop and taking the garbage and bathing dogs and cleaning the truck and making sure water buckets are full and cleaning water buckets, washing the dog bowls. Some just come and don't want to do that. They want to show up at 8 o'clock, help you show dogs instead of staying and learning, from the kids that are working for us at the moment. My favorite is we have a kid from Brazil that came for a couple months. And if he wasn't doing something, he would be watching Jen in the setup, watching her get a dog ready, not just watching, but like asking questions like, why do you drive the leg like that? How do you get that so straight? Why do you use that hairspray over this hairspray? I just want the kids to ask questions. It's not just about running your dog around the ring. There are so many things that go into being a professional handler. It's incredible. And I get excited when we have a kid that wants to learn. If they want to learn, we will happily teach you. And that's what we always say. If they might not be perfect, they might, no one is perfect. They might make mistakes, but if you show us that you want to learn and you want to do this, then you can stay forever. That's what we always say. As long as they want to and they have the passion for it and they have the patience and the will for it, then they can stay forever. It doesn't matter how old you are. I was 12 years old and I was still going to friends' house, like handler's house for summers. Like I would go up to summers in where do they live? Joplin, for all summer and just learn. And may not have been 12, may have been 14, but
So
I gave up so much to go learn.
Well, I do want to open this up for questions from, if anyone has any questions they want to ask Katie, feel free to type in some questions. I haven't seen any coming up as of yet. Or raise their hand. Does anyone have any questions for Katie?
I was never a hand raiser.
You wouldn't.
I would just be quiet in the back.
Oh, come on. You wouldn't have asked questions?
No. What
All
breeds
right,
does
so-
everyone show?
All right, so if no one's gonna ask questions, what,
There is a question.
oh.
What's one dog breed you would,
where? Why am I not seeing questions?
well,
Hold on a second.
what, look under your chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, I even see questions on mine.
You can see questions?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have a question from Michaela. In the breed ring, how can I get the judge's attention?
In the breed ring, how can I get the judge's attention? I think every time they look at you, you are ready. You look the part. You're not standing around looking outside the ring. You're not talking to your friends. If they're looking at you, you look like you are ready to win. Your dog is set up. You have your game face on. You are presenting the dog how it's supposed to be presented. Never act like you don't care. Always act like you care. And that's what I see a lot of, even in sometimes handlers. Like sometimes we just lose focus and we wander and we're talking and all of a sudden we're like, oh, no. If you want to win, act like you want to win. Make them look at you. So.
Okay.
A quicker hunt. I love those.
So you have the first question, which
Let
is
me
from
see if
Rob.
I can get.
One. Did you start at the beginning? Because I
No.
do you have one
I'm
from
just gonna,
Rose?
I'll just scroll through. So we have
Okay.
a question from Valentina. Hello, Valentina. I know we had you the last time. Glad to have you back. Valentina wants to know how you teach a dog to stay focused on you. Her dog is always getting distracted by other sounds and people.
Actually, I learned this from Carissa DeMilta, who shows Dobermans and is very good at her job. When I first started showing Ty, he was very unfocused. So she always told me to take big pieces of bait and just start teaching them how to catch. But when you teach them, you say, watch. So you make them, I don't care if you have to say it 10 times. When they make eye contact with you, then you feed them, you throw the bait at them. You know, it's all about eye contact, especially in dogs that are having a really hard time focusing. Like we even have like a giant Schnauzer puppy and he's a maniac, but the minute you say watch now, he immediately stops and looks right in my face, which is crazy for a young puppy, but I was adamant that he had to learn that. So just even making them stop and focus, and every time they do, you reward them with a, you know, good boy, cookie, or even a word as cookie. Give them a treat. It doesn't have to be watch, it doesn't have to be that, but just something that they can respond to and they bring their focus back to you. That's probably
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's something that that I would do as well. Of course, I have a similar handling style to Carissa, but
Yes.
one of the things we do, especially if you have a Doberman that isn't paying attention, is I kind of will get in their face, watch, and so they almost start getting concerned. Like, and the moment they make eye contact, good, that's so good, and you really, really try to, the moment they engage in that second, you tell them they're amazing.
You praise them and everything. Yeah.
And you can kind of do different, you know, whether it's poking them, at getting into their space, shuffle around. Sometimes they can be distracted or concerned with other things going on. And in my mind, I think, oh, you need to be concerned about me because you need not worry about anything else going on because right now I want your attention. And so you just keep sort of just getting into their space. And the moment you get their attention and they make eye contact, you say good, and you reward them.
What if the catching trick doesn't work? They like toys. If they like toys, you know, you can reward them with a toy real quick. You know, let them have that moment of playing with the toy, and then, you know, you take it away, and then you watch, squeak, toy. Trust me, I have lots of breeds I can't catch, but And
Right.
it's
Or
just about praise. It's your voice inflection. You know, if you act excited, they're going to respond to that. Dogs want to please you. So even if you're like, good boy, they're going to be like, oh, okay, whatever I just did right there is the right thing to do. Don't you agree, Kel? Like,
I do. And I would say catching is fabulous. If you could teach your dog to catch, it's just that's the best way to just get their attention. You
Yeah.
chuck a piece of bait at them and they,
Yeah.
it's fun. A lot of them miss.
Yeah.
I also will take and I will tell them, okay, or wait. So if they miss it, they can't
Yeah.
get the bait
Yeah.
unless I say that it's okay. So it becomes this game where they never know, did I get it? Ooh, I missed it. And it really keeps me in charge I give them direction and then they follow through. And if they can't catch, another thing I will do is I will just throw the bait on the ground. And if they look at me, I'll go, yes, get it, okay. And I'll make it very exciting. And then if they go grab the squeak toy for just a second, because they don't have a lot of toy drive, I'll make a big deal out of that was amazing. And then really some of them you have to work really hard.
Yes.
It'd be a major drama, make a lot of drama to get them excited about it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take a look here, Katie, if you don't mind me. Okay, I have a question from Lena, and her question is, what do you believe is the key to becoming more self-confident both in and out of the ring?
I think it's something you truly learn, not just by winning, but also by losing. You kind of have to learn those lessons. Trust me, I struggle with confidence and self-worth a lot, especially as a young person. I did. Even when I show Ty and today, I always ask myself, am I good enough? Am I doing this right? And finally, you kind of have to knock it off and say yes. And truly, dogs made me more confident. Taking a puppy and training it, and not just by winning. Winning is great, but winning is not the end all be all. It's knowing that you did your best. You took a dog, you went to the ring, and you did your best. And it's not just self-confidence in the ring. It's the best thing you can do is just open up and talk to people. If you see me at a dog show, please come talk to me. I might look busy. I might be busy. I might be running. The minute I'm not running, please come talk to me. Like, that will help you open up. And I will be shy too. It doesn't matter. I am still shy to this day. I do not talk to strangers. I very much have stranger danger issues. but
So I'm going to have a
a
crazy
dog.
little response to that. Being a Doberman person, you can't walk into the Doberman ring and not walk in confidently. And what I would just suggest you try on for size is, if you're not confident, try pretending to be.
That's what I was gonna say. Pretend.
Maybe just try that. Maybe think, what would it feel like to just be a confident person?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that you're going to find, the better as you become a better and better handler, is you can be whatever you need to be. Mm-hmm. So if you keep saying in your head, oh, I'm not that confident, I'm just so shy, and you have that dialogue going in your head, try just becoming an actor or an actress and say, I'm going to pretend for the next 5 minutes of how it must feel to act like a confident person, and play with it. See if it changes your presentation. See if it affects your dog. Because if that affects your dog, then you might want to try out acting a little bit differently.
Yep. No, I mean, I do that, so it's okay.
This is why I like to have, having a couple different people where we can, we all have some different ideas. Okay, why is this not moving?
You just can't use your touchpad.
Okay. Let's see, I have little technical difficulties here.
Kayla wrote, is there any tips on how to calm yourself down in the ring and make it less stressful?
Great question.
Again, walking into the ring is the fun part. You shouldn't be stressing out. It's okay. You should be in there to have fun. You take a deep breath, ignore everything else, and it's you and your dog. There's no, leave the stress outside, because that stress goes right down the leash to your dog. Your dog might not perform well. You might be upset, but it's because you're stressed. There's no reason to be stressed. It is a dog show. You are there to have fun with your dog. And I very rarely ever get stressed about showing a dog and being in the ring. I might get stressed about conflicts and, getting all the dogs ready and getting them to the ring. But the minute I walk into the ring, there is no stress. There is just focus and there's calm, because stress does nobody any good. It makes you mess up. It makes your dog mess up. The best thing you can do is leave that stress at the ring gate and just go have fun. Just take a deep breath and have fun. That's what it's about. That is what showing dogs is about, is being with your dog and showing your dog. It is no reason to be stressed.
And it's supposed to be fun. And so if you're
Yes.
finding yourself, I feel a couple of things can be causing that. One, if you're afraid you're going to mess up, that could be adding to your nerves. And, I know for me, what I need to do is I need to do the best I can to be prepared. And if I watch the judge's pattern, if I spend maybe 5 minutes practicing with my dog and I can feel that my dog is connected into me, then I know that I need to just stop those thoughts. And if I've done all my work, I just need to stop those thoughts. So some of what you are going to have to practice is how you handle those emotions. And so if nerves come up, like Katie said, maybe it's some deep breaths. Maybe it's saying, is there anything else that I need to do to prepare for this? And knowing what you need, and then being able to, try different things that work for you. And nerves can be a good thing. Mm-hmm. They can be. They're not always bad. So again, nerves, it's an energy. And if you're actually able to channel it, it can serve you.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree.
And it also means that it matters to you. And isn't that great? Yes. To have something that really matters.
Yes. Yes.
This is definitely a question for you, Katie, and not for me. How do you, since I'm a Doberman person, how do you improve coat in a double coated breed? It's from Michaela, who shows Norwegian Bunhunds.
Honestly, just keeping up with it. Just keep brushing it and conditioning it. Don't let it sit and get, felted. You should probably line brush them probably a couple times a week, just to make sure that new coat is always rotating, because you don't want that dead hair to just sit there, because then it's not going to produce new hair. That follicle is going to die. And then if you wait too long and brush it all out, then you kind of have to wait. Just like a dachshund, like a wire dachshund, or any coat that needs to be worked. You constantly need to be taking hair out so new hair can grow, and keeping it clean, just like us. Our hair grows when it's clean. You want to make sure it's clean hair, and that you are getting the comb or pin brush or slicker brush to the skin and getting that hair and just rejuvenating. You don't want it to sit there, and you don't want to get the tops. Too many people just brush the tops and that's it. But to really get new hair growth, you need to get to the skin. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any, I don't know if you know of any of the handlers that have any grooming videos.
Oh, there's a lot.
There. I would, that you would recommend. Have you come across it? Well, I didn't know if we could recommend a specific. I know Greg Strong talked to me a lot about that, but I'm not sure if he has anything himself. But
I don't know if he has videos.
He said the same thing. You very, clean and brush and clean and brush and clean and brush and clean.
Soap and water is an amazing thing.
Yes, yes. I have a question from Kayla. My Boston tends to stare at the floor. It ignores me. How can I fix that?
Welcome to the world of Boston. Kind of the same thing. Any little dog, you're going to have a harder time getting them to look up at you, but it's the same thing. You want them to take that time and watch. And even if you kind of have to walk silly for a little bit, you need to get their attention up on you, not on the floor. Like a lot of golden retrievers want to walk with their heads down because they're looking for cookies on the floor. You really need them to look up at you, have them acknowledge you, and then give them a treat. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to get them to learn that looking up at you habit instead of looking straight at the floor. I'm sure you have the same problem too. Dobermans want to look on the floor for whatever they can get.
Yeah, well, again, I come from a breed that is highly attentive. So anytime a dog ignores me, I get in their space, and it's like, psst, psst, I really get in their space. So they it almost can sometimes startle them because I have a lot of energy, and it's like, really doing a lot. So that dog kind of stops and is like, what are you doing? So kind of making a spectacle of yourself.
Yeah.
Can
never
work.
Be afraid to look like a fool.
Yeah, exactly.
Never be afraid to look like a fool.
Exactly. Okay. So I have some. Okay, I have some of you girls telling me what breeds you have. Oh, Brielle asks, how do you teach them to stay while you throw bait?
I mean, you're a Doberman person. I feel like you should answer this. I learned all my tricks from you guys.
Okay. So there are a couple of different ways for me to answer this question. So I'll just answer it in the ways that I think of it. So if you're asking, how do you teach them to stay while you throw bait? What I would do is I would first tell them to stay. And then I would throw a piece of bait and I would say, stay, throw the piece of bait. And I would say, watch, 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 watch. And then I'd say, get it. And I would let them get it. Because if you throw the bait and then you don't make it exciting and they don't get the release, they're gonna stop paying attention to it because they're gonna think, oh no, she won't let me get it. But if you build the
don't
momentum,
wait too long.
Right. So if I was first training a dog, I might tell them to stay. I'd throw a piece of bait and I'd say, watch, get it. And so it would just be a very short period of time. And I would also, my tone of voice would have some excitement, some anticipation, like your moment is coming, so that you have to build intensity, because stay can be a boring command. So if it's just stay and then you throw a piece of bait, the dog might flatly watch it, like, oh, but if you build the excitement, watch, like this staying is a very active thing I'm asking you to do. And so there's a lot that us Doberman people do with our voice and with our energy that keeps a dog on top of its toes, really excited to stand and watch something intensely for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But we start with 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
And then build it. Gotcha.
And it might be, even with a, watch. And then, okay. That's what I would recommend. That.
Oh, Alexandra asked if it was okay to play with her dog and let them rest when the judge isn't looking, because she's gotten conflicting advice. That's horrible. You should always just have fun with your dog. They're not statues. Like in the group ring, if you look at all of handlers, very rarely is anyone's in there stacking their dog for the entire time. When I was in juniors, I even had many junior judges say that they liked that I let my dog relax. That I let him sit down, or I let him just have fun and be a dog. If he wasn't perfect, I wasn't faulted because he wasn't perfect. So many people when I was in juniors would say, I just liked how you played with your dog, or I liked how he would just sit in my lap. I mean, it was a dachshund, it wasn't like a mastiff or anything, but he would just sit in my lap. They're not statues. You should always, especially a young dog, if you make them do that the entire class, they are never gonna want to do it when they get older. They're gonna hate walking into the ring. Some breeds love it, but some breeds you can overtrain them and overdo it, so it's not fun anymore. Don't you agree? Like,
Well, I mean, I think it's well said in the sense of
keep it fun.
keep it fun and also understand your dog. You
Yeah.
need to really understand your dog. And that's, again, a great handler can feel, is this dog getting bored? Does this dog want to work? I have had border collies that would get mad at me if I don't
Yeah,
walk
if you're
them.
not
It's almost
doing
like, hey,
something.
my parents are paying you a lot of money. You need to keep
Exactly.
working. They
You need to pay attention. Yes.
They love to work.
Yeah.
So if you have a puppy, again, it depends. It may not have a long attention span. Dobermans are born like 6 weeks old. I can get a Doberman puppy that they'll stand for 2 minutes because they're smart and they're obedient. They like to work. It depends. So it depends. So it's really important to understand your dog's attention span. And like you said, if it's a
they're
puppy,
naughty, if they're being naughty, then work with them. Because that is your time to train your dog, is in the ring. It's not just running in the ring to win. That is your time to train and to fix things that you want to fix. Try the watch trick. Because like I said, going into the ring and practicing outside are very different. So work with your dog a little bit, but don't overdo it. And especially if it's a puppy, keep them engaged, keep them so they're not getting into trouble. But they're not statues. Not all of them are top show dogs that have won 100 best in shows. Like they want to have fun with this. Even with those dogs, they're not expected to work the entire time. They would never want to do it if they had to work the entire time.
And also, there are other factors. How big is the class?
Yeah.
How long is this? And that really is going to matter. I had a Doberman National once, and I had this female, and she was in the first cut. We have like 200 dogs. She's in the first cut. She was so intense. And I was trying to get her to not show. I was trying to put her in a sit. She just wanted to work. She wanted to work. She wanted to work. And she ended up wearing herself out. I knew that there were a lot of dogs. So again, understanding your dog, understanding their attention span, and that those are all things that a smart handler is taking into account when making that decision.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Okay. So I do want to see if we have if anyone wants to actually come on and ask a question. I would welcome anyone to unmute their microphone and to be able to say hello. This is, this can be.
Just let us know maybe in the chat, and then I can unmute them from here.
Okay. Let's see if.
Maybe just have them do it in the chat.
Can anyone in the chat say if they want to ask a question? Or if I
would love to. That's Elizabeth. So just give me a minute, Isabella. Okay, unmute.
Thank you, Isabella. We're trying to figure this out. You're being a good sport.
Oh, there she is, I think.
Did you unmute Isabella List?
Yeah, she should
Okay.
be able to. Have her say hello.
Isabella, are you there? Can you say hello?
Hi. You good?
Hi. Hi.
So nice to meet you. Do you have a
So-
question?
I do. So when I'm trying to do any sort of standing with both of my dachshunds, actually do this. The first thing I teach them is obedience, but they're so like hardcore ingrained to obedience that they sit anytime we stop, anytime we're on the table. I was wondering, like, how can I break this habit, but yet still keep their obedience training?
That is a very hard habit to break, unfortunately, especially with the dachshund. You know how stubborn they are. I mean, I grew up with dachshunds. They are very stubborn. Whenever you stop, try bending down and putting like maybe a piece of food in their mouth and walking them into a stand, and then you reward them. Don't just sit and then, keep moving, because then they don't understand why you're still moving and they're sitting, and to them, they're doing the right thing. So whenever you're walking, just whenever you stop, kind of bend down, give them a cookie, say stand, okay, then give them a cookie. On the table, they're going to sit, but that's something that is easily corrected on a table. On the ground is going to be your harder thing. Is you need to, because you show them on different leashes in obedience, right? Like, are your leashes similar or are they different? Like your training collars
different.
versus, okay. I would just keep on it. Don't, you know how stubborn they are. It's going to take a while, unfortunately, because they're so ingrained to stopping and sitting. You constantly need to be on them to stand and use commands.
I've tried like the dragging the food along to try to get him to stand, and he'll butt scoot across the floor.
Oh no. Kelly, do you have any help?
Yes, let this be a big learning moment to know that do not reward dogs for sitting.
Exactly.
I love obedience, but I also am very aware of any dog that has any bit of insecurity. Sitting is it's not really a good thing for a show dog to be doing, because when they want to be good, a sit it feels safe. And so if you think about it, they all squish up and they feel safe. So, I really, my clients that do obedience, I love it, but I tell them, they do not get treats for sitting, and they don't even get a big reward for sitting. It's kind of an easy, it's just something I really avoid.
Yeah, and you can always like guide them up with your hands and make them do it, but it's just going to take time to break their mindset, especially in a breed like dachshunds.
And I would say, like, if you make it your mission, everything you do, like when you're at home, anytime you do stand, good girl, stand, good. Oh, stand, isn't that great? Oh, stand, and that is the only thing that you tell them that they're wonderful for.
Yes.
So that they because you really have a problem. So you really need to like make this your whole focus is stand, right? Good stand, good stand, good stand. And just my training motto is always set them up for success. So just finding the smallest little thing that gets them in the right direction of what you want, and then telling them they're amazing. Again, dachshunds,
they're difficult.
Yes, they certainly can be. They're cute though. Okay. Thank you, Isabella. We're going to go to our next person that has a question here. Natalie, do you have?
So I see that, let's say Michaela or Sophia or Steve, which you pick.
Okay, I will unmute Michaela since she's right there.
Okay. Did you unmute her?
I think so.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay, so I do have a question.
Yes.
But first of all, I'd like to say hello to Miss Katie.
Hello.
Awesome.
I love your wall.
Oh,
that's great.
This?
Yes, that's great.
Thank you. And I watched Ty at Westminster, and he was amazing. I loved him.
He's awesome.
And I just want to say you handled him amazingly.
Thanks, hon. So thank you.
But my question is, what aspects are a judge in the junior ring really looking for? Like, what would make anybody pop?
I truly believe the connection with your dog. I really believe people can see that. What breed do you show?
Norwegian Buhunds.
Oh,
Rare.
those are a
breed.
those are a little difficult, to pop with. So the connection with your dog, I feel a lot of people can really see, and that's a breed that you guys don't stack, right? They free bait, correct?
Most of the time, yes, but when
You free bait them.
examination time, yeah, we stack them.
Yeah. So like on the table, everything is not quick movements. It's slow. It's not rush. You never want to rush. I feel like some junior judges don't pay attention to like breed specific. So a lot of people are going to have a harder time with breeds that you're not constantly working with, but it takes a lot to get a dog to stand there and free bait and look engaged. And a lot of people should be able to see that. You do have a difficult breed in juniors to show. That is a difficult breed. And, anytime I showed a wire dachshund over like a whippet or a ridgeback, I would always have a harder time because no one really understood, dachshunds. They all wanted the big flashy dogs. They wanted the kids with the Dobermans. Sorry, Kelly. They wanted the kids with setters because they were big and flashy. But as long as you are connected to your dog and you are paying attention, and always reward them. Judges always are listening too. So talk to your dog, good boy, good job, stay, stand, watch, step. They're listening, whether you think they are or not, they're listening. Especially a breed like that, you have to kind of coach them through it and make sure they're staying engaged, make sure they're focused on you. And I feel like there's no right answer. Every judge looks for something else. But as long as you are engaged and you are quiet with your hands and you're not swinging your hands when you're walking, and I feel like that's, just show your dog and look like you're having fun. That's also the other thing. Look like you're having fun. So many kids go in there looking like they either don't want to be there or it's the end all be all. Go have fun. That is the biggest thing about juniors. Go have fun and be with your dog.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Michaela.
And also, just real quick, Katie, have you ever had any experience with my breed?
No, I've never got to show one. I've got to be around them, but I've never got to show one. I show a lot of herding dogs, but never one of those, unfortunately.
Okay, just had to ask.
Maybe you can teach Katie how to do that someday.
Yes, next time, if I ever see you, let's have a lesson. I think they're so cute. I've never
Thank
got
you,
to show
Michaela.
them.
Welcome.
Thank you. I want to ask, we have Steve that would like to ask a question, so I'm going to unmute Steve.
Hi.
Hi.
We have a non-food motivated lab, and it's kind of hard to keep his attention. All he wants to do is get loved on by me.
A non-motivated Labrador. Wow. Does he like anything? Have you tried different cookies or just doesn't want any food?
He's not really any food.
Does he like toys? Like squeaky toys or?
He likes squeaky toys a little bit until you squeak him up in his face and then he's terrified.
How about tennis balls?
Nope.
I will have to say I've never had a Labrador that doesn't want to eat. Usually it's the opposite. Usually they want to take your hand off.
He just wants me to love on him is all he wants to do.
Do you talk to him when you show him?
I've never showed him yet. We haven't showed him yet. We've got a show coming up, but
maybe he just wants your attention, so talk to him the whole time. Labradors, the greatest thing they're supposed to do is stand there, use their tails and wag their tails and look at you. Talk to him. Maybe that's just what he wants from you, is just your attention. And maybe eventually he'll take like a cookie in the ring, maybe, but talk to him.
I mean, like he'll take it, but he is not really like, hey,
Yeah. Wow. I'm dumbstruck on that one. I've never had, I show a lot of Labradors.
Yeah, that is unusual, but I do like,
Right?
Katie's suggestion, because if he wants your attention and you're his person, then when he's bad, you sort of ignore him and you don't talk to him. And when he's
Yeah.
good, if you say stay, good, stay. Oh, that's a good boy. And then when he's bad, you just don't say anything. That might be the worst thing in the world to him. So if you're his
I
person,
really hurt his feelings.
you may, that may
Really hurt his
be
feelings.
enough, is to just, if you're happy with him, then that makes him want to work harder. And if you're disappointed, then that might just ruin his whole day.
Yes, it is Labrador. It's possible. Oh,
Another question.
Kayla or Sophia?
Oh, Sophia, let's ask Sophia. I remember Sophia from our last one. I'm going to unmute you, Sophia. You should be.
Okay. Excuse her, she's just wants to be in my lap. So do you think maybe like coming from showing different species would help you in the dog ring?
I mean, I have a lot of friends that show cats. I've even had friends, I mean, my sister does horse shows. She used to do horse shows. Yeah, no matter what you do with animals in a competition, it's all the same. You're caring for them. It's not the same as dog shows, but I think any competition you learn something from, whether it be sports or, debate or showing cats or goats or cows. Or I've gone to the farm show in Pennsylvania and watched all the kids in the 4-H get their cows bathed and ready. I'm like, oh, I have that 4-dryer. Like you learn skills, you learn to take care of animals and present them. And for sure, a lot of kids do 4-H, and 4-H just isn't about dogs. It's about other things as well, other animals.
Yeah, because I've shown dairy heifers, market hogs, and rabbits. And
Oh, I know a lot of girls that show rabbits, that have rabbits.
Yeah.
And they show dogs a lot. Yeah. Do you want to show dogs?
I started showing about 9 months ago.
Okay.
I have a cousin that's a breeder for Central Asians, and after he saw me showing my dairy heifers, he really wanted me to start showing dogs for him, and so I showed a Central Asian, and now I've moved on to American Pit Bull Terriers, what is sitting in my lap right now. And I'm about to be getting an Old English Bulldog.
Excellent. So good. And you're going to dog shows, or when you can go to dog shows?
Yeah, whenever we find one close enough that I can go to, I typically make it there.
Good. And I always say to anybody, watch. Just go up to the rings and watch, especially people who are showing your breeds. You want to go watch how different people show, and even other breeds. It's always important to always continue your education and watch other people and how they show dogs. I still go watch other handlers. I'll go watch Kelly show a Doberman. I'll go watch Rissa show a Doberman. I'll watch, certain people go show certain breeds that I think are very talented at those breeds. So that's what you need to do, is find somebody or a couple people and just watch. And watch and learn. He looks very content.
Thank you, Sophia. We have Kayla has a question here. I'm going to unmute you, Kayla. You should be able to speak. Or did I unmute? I unmuted Katie.
Did you mute me?
No. Katie, do you have a question? Katie Combs? No, I have Katie unmuted.
Is there a Katie?
So if there's a Katie or a Kayla, if you have a question.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, you
Well,
unmuted
hi.
the wrong one. Well, hi there, Katie. Great name.
Hi.
Well, You need to unmute Kayla. Kayla has a question.
Kayla's unmuted.
Kayla is unmuted?
She is unmuted. She
Okay.
just needs to speak.
Okay.
Kayla, can you speak? Did you turn your microphone? You need to turn your microphone on.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Kayla.
Hi. So I have actually okay. So I've gotten like different opinions basically about this concept. My Boston has a broken collar on the show side. And I was just recently in the national specialty for Boston's about a month ago in Georgia. And the junior judge, because normally I would show him the opposite way to show his best side. And the judge, that's the reason I guess that I lost the show that day, was the judge told me she feels like the juniors should show them the correct way, is how she put it. So what do you guys think about that, just in general?
Well, in juniors, it shouldn't matter. Like how your dog is marked, or if they don't have a perfect front or a perfect rear. It's about showing the breed how you're supposed to show it. So I would do this, I mean, for like Springer Spaniels, some of them, I've shown a lot of those that have beautiful collars on their offside, and then completely dark collars from the tip of their head to, you know, the middle of their front leg. You know, so like on a down and back, I would always turn them around so they could see the pretty side. But if I was lined up in a lineup, I would show them, even though the other side is not as pretty. But in the breed, you know, you kind of have to change how you show in the breed versus juniors, because a lot of junior judges aren't going to understand why you're turning around. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not going to understand that you're showing the best part of your Boston. They're not going to understand why you're turning around. So then they're going to see as you're doing something off. I don't know if that makes sense or not. They just want you to do what you're supposed to, you know, they want you to go in and show your dog the right way. If it's a Boston breeder doing juniors, then you can turn them around and show your Boston breeder that you understand your breed and you are showing them their best side. So you kind of have to know your judges too. That's a hard one for me to explain, just because I know what I'm trying to say. I just can't say it.
Well, and I think that's a great, but again, that's something that came up in the last webinar that we did. And that's understanding your judges. And especially when you're new and you're beginning, research your judges. And Katie, when she was running tie for #1, you better believe she researched her judges. It's part of the job. So,
but if you like look in your program, or you look up the judge and like, oh, they're a Boston breeder, they know how Bostons are supposed to be shown, you know. So I'm going to show them like I would show this dog in the breed. If it's a setter person doing juniors, they're going to have no idea why you're turning around, and they might fault you on that because they don't understand.
Okay.
So you kind of need to know who you're showing to, but unfortunately, you kind of have to go in the.
yeah, my recommendation would be to play conservative, to be conservative with that. But yes, you have to understand your judges. And so, do we have one more question? Or we?
Brielle?
We have
Brielle,
and I think that's going to be our last question. We're going to need to wrap up. So let me see.
I have to go feed dogs.
Hi, Brielle.
Hi.
Hi, Brielle.
So in breed, like the judges have told me that I've lost because I'm younger. So like, is there any way that would help me like stand out more in the breed ring?
You know, Brielle, when I was young, I always wanted to grow up because I wanted to win. I wanted to win all the time. And it just made me try harder, you know. And even now, like, I feel beat up on sometimes because I am younger, you know, and all you can do is go in there and out handle everybody. I've seen you show your dogs. You do a great job. You can outhandle people, and you just have to try harder. And I remember having these conversations with like my best friends when we were like 18. We're like, gosh, we just want to be older. We just want to beat the older people. Like, why can't we be famous like them? We never gave up. We pushed and we pushed and we pushed every day, and always work hard. And I've seen you at dog shows a million times. You work hard. Never stop working hard. You are young. That shouldn't stop you from winning if you have the best dog. Always remember that. If you have the best dog just because you're young, I showed my first dog at 7. And it's been like that ever since. So never stop trying your best. Just because you're young doesn't mean anything. Okay?
Yeah, and that's going to be the case too. If you're new to a breed, or all of us when we first get started. I've in my interview with Kaz, Annie ended up telling him, you have to be 10 times better than everybody else, and accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Accept that. You can get frustrated, but if you go into it knowing I just have to be that much better than everybody else, and then you may run into that. But
I feel like you should do that in a lot of things in life, though. Always go in acting.
When you're new, you're paying your dues.
Yep. Yeah. God, I hated that phrase when I was young. You have to pay your dues.
Yes. That's not fair.
I don't want to. I've been scooping poop since I was 7.
You don't know who I am.
I know.
Well, Katie, I want to thank you for your time. It's
No problem. It was a pleasure.
After your 10-hour day and an exhausting weekend and still showing up for the kids, I really appreciate that.
Anytime. Again, anytime a junior wants a help or a question, you can ask me on Facebook. You can find me. I'm more than willing to help. I've always have said that. Any interview or thing I've done, if the next generation wants to learn, ask questions. We're here to help.
That's great.
We didn't get to where we are without help.
No, for sure. And I'm friends with Katie on Facebook, and if any of you want to friend me or friend Katie, just might be a great way to, if you have some questions, to have access to us. And
yep. Always never be afraid. No question is silly, or if you ask a question, we will happily help you.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for having me, Kelly. I do appreciate it.